Next, we're going to create headphone mixes in Pro Tools. Now, if you remember, a couple of videos back, I showed you how to create quick headphone mixes using multiple outputs on each fader, going to the main out and the headphone out at the same time. Now, it's a quick way of doing it, but it's not very flexible or customized. We can't create our own headphone mix. The mix in the headphones is the same mix we're getting here in the control room on our speakers. So let's create something a little more flexible and customized. And let's set up the headphone mix using sends. Now, when doing headphone mixes, I prefer to use a separate bank for our sends, separate from our effect sends. So let's hide our inserts and let's show sends F through J. And we'll use these for setting up our headphone mixes. So let's start off by selecting all the tracks, hold down Option on the Mac, Alt on the PC, click it, all the tracks are selected, and then deselect the master. Go to our sends, Option Shift on the Mac, Alt Shift on the PC, and let's choose our send. Now, what we could do is go to our output and go right to our headphones. But I prefer not to do it this way, and let me show you why. In order to control this mix, we have to create a master fader. Let's do that. New track, stereo, master fader. And set it up to our headphone output. The problem, number one, there's no mute. So if we want to turn this off, we have to pull the fader down. That's not a huge problem. The bigger problem is there's no way to monitor this mix in the control room. Let's go into the headphone output. If we use buses instead, we could route it to our control room and our speakers temporarily to check out our custom mix. So let's do that instead. Delete this and delete all these. Choose it again. This time, we're going to choose new track. Stereo, aux input, and we'll name it Headphone 1. This creates this track here, the aux input. All the tracks are being sent to it, and we have a mute button, and we can control our output. We can leave it set to main output to hear it in the control room, but I have a better way of doing it. Let's set this up to the headphone output 3 and 4. So now, any mix we create here is going to go to this track and out to the headphones. So again, there's no way of hearing it in the control room, but we can fix that right here. Go to the I/O setup, and under headphones, we could temporarily switch it from Avid 3 and 4 to Avid 1 and 2. And it's temporary. Just for setting up our mix. Once we're happy with it, we can switch it back to our headphone output. So now I can pull this fader down, and anything we set up over here on these sends, we should hear through here. Let's hear the kick. And we can set up our mix on these faders here, or these faders here. Hide these sends, make it easier to see, and we can set up our mix right here. Now, right now, all these sends are post fader. So really, we don't have to set up a mix. We could hit Option on the Mac or Alt on the PC and click them, and they go to Unity Gain. So it's passing on the same level from the channel. Because it's going here first and then out here. Let's do it with the drums, and let's hear it. One thing I'm noticing is that this mix is mono. That's because these tracks are panned differently than our stereo sends. Now, we could go through and manually pan them left and right for these, or we could start over using this feature right here. FMP means follow main pan. If we choose that, the pan grays out, and the panning that's being used is what's down here. So if we switch this panning, the send follows it. So all we have to do is hold down Option on the Mac or Alt on the PC, and all these tracks have their pans grayed out. So now if we hear the drums, the mix should sound stereo. That's better. Now we can go through and set each track to unity, the bass. There's actually a quicker way of doing this. Let's take all these tracks and start over and go to our preferences and go to mixing. And right here, there's an option, send defaults to -infinity, which basically means pulling the fader all the way down. So it's sending no level. By default, I usually leave it here, which means all the way down. This way, when you create a send, it's not going to start out at full volume and possibly blow your speakers. If you're setting up reverb sends and delay, you don't want it to start out full volume. So it's better to leave it here or all the way down and slowly bring it up. But for headphone mixes that are post fader, it's a good idea to turn this off before we create them. We create them, go to bus, headphone 1. They start out full volume, but follow main pan still isn't on. You hit this again, Option on the Mac, Alt on the PC, and that fixes it. But we could also change it with the preference. Let's start over, go to Preferences, and there's an option over here, Send Pan's Default to follow main pan. If we choose this, it'll do that for us. Again, set up our sends right here, headphone 1. And now, they're all set to unity, and the pans are following the main pan. See? It's grayed out, and it follows it. So this mix should now be the same exact mix as down here. Let's hear it.
Oh, baby, just hold tight. I would travel like this to spend one night.
Let's compare it. Bring this one up.
Oh, baby, just hold tight.
Sounds the same to me. So now, you're probably wondering, what's the point? We just created the same mix, but now we can change it. For instance, let's say the person listening to this mix doesn't want to hear the singer. You can turn it off right here. Won't the other vocals? And also, turn off the effects, or they're going to show up too. Now let's hear the mix. Same mix, no vocals. But the main mix sounds like this.
Oh, baby, just hold tight.
So already, we have a customized mix. Let's say you didn't want to hear the guitars. Turn them off as well. Right here. Maybe he wants to hear a bit more bass. Go here and raise it up a bit. Maybe he wants a click track. Let's go down here and create one. Go to Track and choose Create Click. And we'll send it to our headphones. Now for this, we're going to set this up pre-fader. The reason being, I don't want to hear the click track in the main speakers, so we have to set it up pre-fader so the person hearing this mix can hear it. Let's bring it down and then back up. So that's his mix, or her mix. And this is ours in the control room. We'll mute the click.
Oh, baby, just hold tight. I would travel like...
So we're not hearing the click, but the talent is. So that's one way of creating a customized headphone mix. The other way is using pre-fader on every send. So let's start over. Get rid of all these. And let's do it again with pre-fader sends. Let's go to our preferences. And let's switch this back so it defaults to negative infinity, because otherwise all the faders in our sends are going to be at full volume, which is going to be too hot. So let's start them all at negative infinity. We'll leave file main pan on. Select all our tracks except for the headphone mix and the master, and choose it again. Bus, headphone 1. And now, just choose any of them, hold down Option on the Mac or Alt on the PC, and hit pre-fader. Now all those sends on that slot are now pre-fader. So now we can make a completely customized mix right from here. Start with the kick.
I know it seems at times we face too much resistance. Oh, baby, just hold tight. I would travel like this to spend one night next to you, girl. Give me just one flight. The galaxy ain't too big, baby.
So just like that, every track has its own level. So this mix can be very different from the mix in our control room.
Oh, baby, just hold tight. I would travel like it all night next to you, girl. Give me just one.
But it's a great way of creating a customized mix for our headphones. And we could do this for multiple headphone mixes as well. Just create as many as we want over here and set up a new mix for each set of headphones. And when we're done, go back to the I/O window and change this, the headphone output, to be output 3 and 4. And if we had more than one, each one would be set up with a different set of outputs. So now, this output is going out of 3 and 4. So we don't hear it in here. Here's our mix.
Travel like this to spend one night next.
And when the band's done playing, and they want to come back in the control room, we can turn off the headphones right here. So that's pretty much it. That's creating customized headphone mixes in Pro Tools. Let's move on.